Okay, so Vanevera was saying that he names this weird situation where states actually believe that offending first is a good idea, the cult of the offensive. It's like a cult. What's a cult? What's a cult?
It's a group that have beliefs, something.
Okay, so could be religious, right? Or any cult is going to be believing in something and will hardly change that belief, although new evidence might be very clear that the belief is wrong. That's not going to be changing anything. The cult will actually keep believing. Well, in that very similar vein, Vanevera believes that there's this cult of the offensive, and not among only the militaries, but also statesmen who believe that, you know, attacking first is a good idea, is actually the best idea. Okay, and that actually dominates the European culture, according to Vanevera, before World War I. Also, there are those who believe that cult of the offensive was apparent before Second World War as well. Now, guys, when I'm mentioning these ideologies, I don't want you to only imagine, you know, the aggressive ones like Germany before the First World War and the Second World War believing in this cult. Okay, it's also other nations such as the French. I have examples from the French military and from the French president as well. They say the offense alone is suited to the temperament of French soldiers. What does that mean? What is he trying to do by saying this?
French soldiers are willing to attack on.
Attacking. Once again, think of this combined with social Darwinism. Yes?
The success of the French army is related with the soldiers' curiosity or bravery.
Bravery, okay. So that's common with social Darwinism, right? Masculinity, the soldier being manly, being very brave, and the French soldier. So suddenly, this actually becomes a national trait. Okay, suddenly this becomes the bravery and the temperament, offensive and brave temperament, becomes the national trait of the French. But once again, go look at the Germans, go look at the British. I think I have examples. I think I do. Hold on. Yes, I have examples from the British as well and German. The defensive, mind you, is never an acceptable role to the Briton. And he makes little or no study of it. Okay? So I want you to take a look at these quotes. I don't want you to memorize them, or don't memorize the names or anything, but I want you to read these quotes. They're very fun in the sense that they show that these countries and the ideologies of these countries were so similar to one another. You can go and look at the Ottoman Empire's ideology before the First World War, and I'm pretty sure that you will find similar things from Enver Pasha. Okay, so this is everywhere. The cult of the offensive is common to all these nations at the time. Charge in battle. Charge in battle means to attack, right? To attack in a battle. Okay. Okay, so why would people believe in the cult of the offensive when there is evidence that it's not actually like that? It's the belief is actually not true. Well, the first reason is there's increased when there's increased autonomy of the military, cult of the offensive is more likely. When the military is more free to decide on what's going to be done about a conflict situation, then cult of the offensive will dominate the foreign policy making. Increases the prestige of the military. Well, the military likes to offend, to attack. Because if it attacks and if it wins, that's very prestigious for the military. Okay? That's another reason why the militaries will favor these strategies. And let me tell you something. Remember, Magnus, my general, at a time of conflict with the other class, what do I always tell you? I say, I'll turn to Magnus, and Magnus is going to collect soldiers, conscribe soldiers for me, and recruit soldiers for me. And I already have conscription. So the first person that I'll turn to at a time of conflict will be the military and the chief of the general staff. Okay, no wonder. If there is tension with another country, if there's the risk of a conflict, of course I'm going to turn to my military guys. And so offensive weapons will be quite expensive, especially the ones that have enough capacity to win a war. So when you support the offensive, you actually spend more money, so that the defense budget will be larger. And of course, the military will want that, okay? Imagine that if you were in the, I don't know, the Minister of the Health Services, then you would want your ministry to have a larger budget. Just like that, the military will want to have a larger budget for defense. Very obviously, yes.
Is that because they like to play with new toys?
Yes, that's one of the reasons. But to put it that way would be too light, you know, because the military will always think that security is the #1 concern of a country. And there will always be attacks. That's how the military training is, to protect the nation, to protect the country, no matter what, with the best available technology, with the best available weapons. That's the nature of it. If you go ask a doctor, wouldn't the doctor say, my most important priority to save your life? If you go ask a military person, you know, what's your priority in your profession? He will say, you know, to protect the nation. I'll just secure the borders. I'll make sure that there's nothing wrong going on inside as well. So some militaries will be more concerned with internal security than others. Developing countries, usually, the military will be involved inside the country as well. So I don't find it weird or unexpected that the military says, oh, you know, we need to spend more money. Because any state institution will want to spend more money for its own purposes. It's the nature of the beast. Raydun, did you have a comment?
I'm just wondering, because it would be more rational, or it's probably more economically beneficial to have a defensive policy. So, of course, you want funding, but if you follow this cult of the offensive, then it won't be economically beneficial anymore.
If you win, it will. Don't you think? So the assumption, again, there's another assumption here. The assumption is, if you offend and attack first, you'll win. To be able to win, you should have the best available technology to attack. For that, you should be spending as much as needed for the best technology to offense. Okay? Another reason is that it restricts the role of the reserves in the military, which means, you know, there are the reserves and there are the active fighting military, right? So the reserves are those who are not actively fighting. Now, in the times of war, and if you offend, you'll need as many of your soldiers as possible, okay? Especially think of the world wars when infantry was, you know, the most important part of the army. The more men, the better, was the idea at the time, okay? It simplifies organizational routines. Believe me or not, I actually heard this from generals. It's much easier to plan an offense than to defend yourself. Because when you're defending, you don't have the control, okay? You're always looking for where the attack will come from. But when you offend, you have a clear plan and you're going to use that plan to fight. Okay? In other words, from the organizational routine, especially think during the world wars. At the time, when you mobilized your military, when you put your soldiers in a train, when you sent them to attack a certain target, that's it. You can't really, mobilization plans are quite inflexible at the time. This is actually, have I told you to watch Dr. Strangelove? The Stanley Kubrick movie, Dr. Strangelove. It's a very good movie, and it actually shows you the Cold War environment, and also there's a missile sent to the U.S. Sent to the Soviet Union by a crazy American general, and no one actually stopped it. It's not possible to stop the bomb. So the bomb is going to attack Soviet Union. So all the leaders get together, they talk about what to do. I'm not going to ruin the movie for you. But what's important here is, once you start the offensive, it's harder to stop it. And it's much easier in terms of its organization. You do it, and it continues. So it's a more simplified organizational routine in that sense, okay? And finally, as I said, this reflects the belief system of the military. Every military believes that, the nation should be protected, the country should be protected. If that is so, then, to offend, to have the control, to attack, is quite logical. Okay, it makes sense for the military to believe in the cult of the offensive. And like I said, when I was as a queen of this country, when I think that the country is under attack and is in danger, I turn to my general. So the military affects the state, the rest of the state institutions at times of conflicts or crises, okay? So you might be thinking, okay, this is the military belief, and this is the military thinking, all that. How about the, other people? Well, rally around the flag effect at times of a conflict will make the country more dependent on the military decision makers. So the military decision makers' perspective can dominate the decision making. Okay? So these then are the possible causes of why an ideology like the cult of the offensive dominates states, and not only one state, all states, for such a long time. Okay, and imagine, what did I say? Combine it with social Darwinism, you have a deadly recipe. So the consequence, the deadly recipe, leads to the belief that wars will be quick and it will be cheap because it won't take long. Okay, I'll get in, get out. And therefore, expansionism and imperialism will pay. Think of the idea that Hitler had. Didn't he think that there should be a greater Germany in that sense? Didn't Milosevic actually think that there should be a greater Serbia? Again, you offend, you get in, you get out. That was the thinking behind all these expansionist and imperialist policies. It creates an incentive for preemption. What's preemption? You feel threat from me, and?
Therefore you attack first.
Okay. So I look at you like this, and you think that you start feeling nervous, and I keep looking at you like this, and after a while, you're feeling, with the effect of cult of the offensive belief that you have, you start thinking, she's planning to attack. I mean, she's going to beat the hell out of me. I should do that before she does. So the cult of the offensive belief starts making people, starts pushing decision makers to decide on preemptive wars, and thus encourages preventative wars. It contributes to inflexible mobilization plans. Like I said, once you offend, all your plan is on offending, attacking. You make that inflexible plan, and that's it. It's very difficult to actually change an offensive plan. It's more flexible to change your defense depending on what your enemy will do. You're actually adapting to your enemy's offensive tactics. In the case of offensive tactics, it's actually pretty inflexible in that sense. I think even with the technology today, it is still more inflexible than defensive technology with defensive tactics. It implies that mobilization means war. Absolutely. World War I was a great example. You know about the Willy-Niki telegraphs. William and Nicola, German Kaiser and Russian Tsar, actually write telegraphs to one another. And while they're writing the telegraphs, mobilization is taking place. And once one of them learns that mobilization is taking place, then all the trust or communication between the two leaders become meaningless. Because once you put your soldiers on the train moves, that's it, The mobilization means war. That is exactly what Bonavera argues First World War is about. It's quite inflexible. Increases the importance of reliable alliances. As a result of this cult of the offensive thinking, alliances become really important because as you offend, you want others to help you in your offensive. Okay? So from the perspective of the ones that will be defending, they want alliances as well. Right? Poland wants alliances because it believes that Germany, in the Second World War, Germany will be attacking it. So Poland gets into alliances, which actually is not kept afterwards.
No one cared about Poland.
Exactly, but at the same time, a network of alliances become a huge reality because of the thinking, the ideology of the cult of the offensive, guys. Okay, so combine this, the offensive, the belief that the offensive will win. Combine this with social Darwinism, which believes that there are some, people more inferior to others, or some people, the ones that offend, superior to others. Okay? If you think in these terms, you're going to understand why everyone, in Europe before the world wars were so willing to actually fight. While we know that there were attempts to stop the fight, secret alliances and stuff. But in the meantime, in the backstage, the ideology was a combination of these ideologies, social Darwinism, cult of the offensive. Now, I'm going to talk about one more, that's militarism. Am I going too fast? Is this okay? Is everything clear, guys? Okay, so the last one is militarism. I mean, everyone must have heard about militarism here. I'm going to show you a very short movie so that you will actually see what I'm trying to say here. But let me first mention a few things. Glorification of the soldier. What does it mean to glorify the soldier?
To give the credits of bravery.
Okay, to think that soldiers are brave. How do you glorify the soldiers?
Giving medals.
You give medals. Okay, that's a good one. What else? You highly respect them. You show in your behavior that you respect them. Another thing is you actually you adopt the military beliefs and values. Violence, you start believing that, well, violence is actually an acceptable and appropriate way to resolve conflicts. That becomes one of the beliefs that you start having as you glorified the military and the soldiers. And then you also start seeing outsiders as danger. And the military concerns become important, but more importantly, you respect the uniform. So those who are in uniforms, the military personnel, becomes the people in the society that are very much respected. So if you have a daughter, you would give your daughter, let your daughter marry with the uniformed. So that's how you glorify the uniform and the soldier. Now I'm going to show you a short movie, but I want you to pay attention to these things, use of symbols, the uniform, and the behaviors of the people that I'll show you now. It's a movie, on a German movie, short movie, a silent movie. That was actually, 1924. I'm only going to show a few minutes of it, okay? About 8 minutes of it. And I'm going to give you the address, the YouTube address, so you can actually go and take a look at the movie there. But please pay attention to the symbols and to the behaviors and all, okay? All right. Can everybody see it? Okay. What does this guy do for a living? Let me see hands. What's his job?
Doorman. Bellboy.
He's not a bellboy. He's a doorman. He's a doorkeeper. Okay. At probably a hotel.
Atlantic.
Yeah. So, okay. So he's why? How is he dressed? In a uniform. Why is the uniform? Okay. Let's just start from the beginning. It's raining, and we can't really figure out what he's doing at first, and we don't really see the uniform. But we know for a fact that this guy actually has some kind of power, because when they were unloading the luggage, he actually yells at people, but no one showed up, though. Remember those parts? And then, he takes the luggage himself, and then he carries it. Suddenly, people come, bellboys and others come and take his load, and then he takes the raincoat, and then you can now see the uniform. And the next thing you see is the guy, the guy who's walking like this suddenly becomes, and he was like, his legs were hurting. Don't you think? I think he had arthritis or something of that sort, because it was raining and he was doing this. So I figured there must be something about his old age or his health related to his legs. What else? Was he in a good mood?
Not at first.
After
Not at
he
first.
broke the raincoat, yes.
Okay. So would you then think that when he had the raincoat, it was raining and no one really actually was listening to him, he didn't feel so good. But then the rain stopped, he took the raincoat off, and then, he suddenly had more self-esteem and confidence. And then we saw him doing stuff with his facial hair. What was that all about? Why was he doing that? He was playing with his mustache and stuff.
He was putting it in
Trying to look pretty?
studying.
What was it all about? You see?
Try to look like a general,
Try to look like a general. Did you notice that, he took his mirror and then, he reorganized his mustache and all his facial hair, and he was looking much more confident. And then he started saluting people, walking in and out with the soldier's salute, right? So why was he doing that, you think? He wasn't a soldier.
He wanted to feel like that.
He wanted to feel like a soldier, or he already felt like a soldier with the uniform?
Or he was a soldier but retired. Yeah.
Did he? Okay. Well, I watched the movie, so no, he didn't retire yet. He didn't retire yet. So he's a doorkeeper. There's no question about that. But he actually wanted or liked the respect. Did you see how the ladies were going with him and talking, and they were actually behaving as if they were equals with the guy. And the man who came into the car just stopped and did some nice gestures, and our guy kept saluting, right? So didn't it look like he felt like he was equals with these people who were, okay, how much would a doorkeeper make? Would he make as much as the guests in the hotel? Obviously not. You saw the place he lived in the end of the scene that I showed you. This is where he lives. Okay. Now, one more thing. What did you think about, okay, there was the hotel manager, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wasn't he he must have been the manager. Okay. What went on there? What did you get from that scene?
He put some notes about he thinks that the doorman did not do his job.
He was slacking off, right? So he was just sitting there, and the bellboy brought water, And the poor guy was so tired of carrying that very heavy suitcase, he was just taking a moment to breathe. And the manager saw him and he wrote something. This is important for the rest of the movie. We're not going to watch all of it here, but you can at home. It's important to notice that it looked like, you know, he had no uniform on, he had his raincoat. He was just like an old man in his, you know, raincoat, sitting there and rubbing his leg. So next thing we know is he became more confident, and then he left the workplace. Well, he worked for a while, and then he left the workplace. And then, you know, we saw a street full of people. What did you get from that? What does it tell us? What?
Is it for a neighbor?
Exactly, yes.
Came and they respected him, although he probably was also not very rich, but he had a uniform.
Okay, he was very much respected. Not only the hotel guests, but also the people in the street. When he came in, they were like saluting him and they were respecting him, right? And that was a very poor neighborhood. What else? What else about men and women? Let's go deeper in the analysis. There was a hierarchy. What did the women do? They were beating the kids. Okay. And then the men actually, not really beating, but, you know, pushes around the woman. That's the hierarchy in the German society at those years. Okay? This is not something that we're unfamiliar with. I mean, you can see that scene in Turkey today, actually. And we're talking about probably right after the end of the war, 1920s. So that's when the movie, what the movie is trying to show. So a very poor neighborhood, but the military, or whoever reminds the military, gets a lot of respect, guys. And also you can see in that guy's self-confidence that being in the uniform makes him very happy. He glorifies. The society glorifies the soldier. That's what I meant by glorification of the military and the soldier. Okay, I picked this movie. I think this is a perfect way to portray it. Now, one more thing for you. I don't want to ruin the movie for you, but I still want to show you one more thing. The manager called the guy to his office, gave him a letter. Okay. Did you actually see the shining? Was it a cigarette holder? And it was shining. And I think they're trying to show us that this hotel manager doesn't respect anything but money. So the uniform doesn't really isn't really an important issue there for the guy. And then he starts reading the letter. Hold on, not yet. He doesn't know what to do with the letter. Okay. In consideration of your long service with us, we have found another position for you by arranging for our oldest employee to be admitted to a home. So from today, you will take over his duties. Fired. not going to, I don't have time to watch the whole thing with you guys, but I recommend the movie. I mean, it's a silent movie, but it's very interesting. A lot of very interesting things will happen to our guy afterwards. But let me ask you one thing. How did he look when he got the letter? As he read the letter, did you notice that he started going older? Well, first of all, he can't read with his reading glasses because he is older. And then he got, he looked older and older as he read the letter. And at that moment, after that moment, once the job is gone, if I had time, I would show you the scenes afterwards. Take a look at it online. Without the uniform, we see him with his, crazy hair. The facial hair is really not as organized anymore. He's a rundown. He's a very sad person once the uniform goes. Okay? So the movie is actually showing us the perceptions of the society at the time that glorifies the soldier. But guys, this doorman, he glorifies the soldier so that he glorifies himself. He finds self-esteem by glorifying the soldier and his uniform. Okay? That's what is interesting. And he will go back to his street. No one will respect him anymore without the uniform. Okay? So the symbols in the movie tell us that there are certain things that we actually, certain very superficial things that we actually respect in people, and appearance is one of those, and the guy's uniform is why, and his job is why he's respected in the street. So there's a very widespread adoption of military beliefs and values. So people start thinking in militarist societies that violence is an okay, appropriate way to solve issues and conflicts. Okay? Another thing is outsiders are a problem. So xenophobia, fear from outsiders, is quite huge in societies, in military societies. Okay? You believe that the outsiders are out there to get you. So that's kind of the psyche of the military society. Civic duty involves loyalty and obedience. Loyalty is a concept that is very much valued. And actually, the hotel manager punishing the guy, making a note of his action, is about that loyalty to a certain degree. He believes that the guy is not being loyal to the hotel. He's slacking off, so he's not spending the time for the hotel. And that's unacceptable for the uniformed ones. And obedience is also important. You would see in the movie that the guy will not argue. He will just accept the letter and he will just go to the door, leave, and then he will be very upset, very unhappy for a long time. The military concerns in that sense take precedence over civilian concerns. For example, there will be more military spending than health services, than education. So a lot of money will be spent on things that are related to the military, although education or health services might be more important, okay, from an objective perspective. Collective goals will supersede individual goals, people's individual actions. In other words, collectivity will be valued more than individual rights and freedoms, okay, in purely militarist societies. Use of nationalism and symbols to promote excessive patriotism. The uniform by itself, the saluting, the military saluting, that's also another symbol. And also in these societies, anyone can be a traitor. So if you don't do what the military perspective tells you to do, you're actually perceived as a potential traitor. Okay, what's a traitor? Disloyal, okay? So selling out your country, okay, treason. Okay, so excessive patriotism. So whatever you do is not possible to satisfy these extreme ideologies. So you have to show constant loyalty, constant patriotism. There's even a competition of who is more loyal to his country or her country, and who's more patriotic than the other, okay? So militarism from these perspectives, combined with social Darwinism, combined with the cult of the offensive. You see what I'm talking about now? Why? When the three of us of these come together, they become recipe for disaster because, you know, if people believe in all these three ideologies, fighting will become an everyday thing. It will be so normalized in people's minds that the military will normalize it in people's minds. Can you think of examples of militarist societies? First example we think of is North Korea, because we don't really know much about North Korea. I mean, we don't know whatever is going on, but we know that there's a huge amount of militarization. We know that, you know, there are threats now and then on South Korea. The US? Okay. Someone with the US. You know, a militarist country or society might be, a non-militarist society or country might be spending a lot on the military and a lot on soldiers, but if the society in general is not buying into militarist ideas and ideologies, we can't call that society militarist. So I can't easily call the US a militarist society, although there is a lot of militarization. Okay, I want to mention to the distinction between militarization and militarism. In the US, you have individual rights and freedoms very much valued. And the military is really not a very much valued, respected institution in that sense. Okay? But is there a lot of militarization? Yes. My next slide. Person is a scholar who studies the difference between militarism and militarization. I'm not going to get into this. I don't have time to get into this. So in the exam, I'm not going to ask you anything about militarization. But I want you to understand that a militarist society and a militarized country are different things, okay? Because if the society doesn't buy into the militarist ideology, you can't call that society a militarist society. So it doesn't really apply to US in that sense. But US is very much militarized because the state spends a lot on the military. Think of examples, okay? On Wednesday, in the review class, I'm actually going to ask you of examples, okay? Thank you.